Hello everyone, this is Diana. I want to talk to you guys today about my journey with fibroids and hysterectomy. And it's going to be short, not going to be a long video. I just want to start off by saying probably let's go to 8 years prior to now. When I had fibroids that they weren't growing. And so I remember I was about 37 years old. I'm 45 now. And my doctor said, well, if they start to bother you or grow, then we have other issues where, I may want to have an option of a hysterectomy. At that time, I was like, no. Haven't had my own kids at the time, really wasn't dating anybody, and I just felt like I didn't have to go and just grab up a man just to have a baby with. So at that point in my life, I was single. I had already been married 10 years prior to that. And I wasn't looking forward to have kids anytime soon. I was just in a different place in my life at the time. Now, moving 8 years after that, I had a different surgery, but that's a whole nother different surgery. But I remember in 2012, I started having issues with the fibroids. And I remember, well, actually, it was 2011. Because I had a previous surgery within that year. But I remember my fibroids started acting up. And during that time, long story short, I remember my mom, her pastor, and some church members, we just prayed. And I'm a firm believer in prayer. And I am a firm believer in God's healing power. He works in ways that we don't understand sometimes. But I remember them praying and the fibroids didn't give me problems anymore. So I kind of went on with my life. Now moving to this year, I am 45 years old. Let's start from January of 2018. I had a regular cycle and didn't have any problems with feeling like I had fibroid issues. And once the month of February and March of this year came in, well, I don't know why I said January of last year. I mean, January of this year, I was fine. February and March, when they came, those months came, I didn't bleed at all. So I'm like, yoo-hoo, yes, I have stopped bleeding. I felt like, hey, my cycle had naturally just stopped. So once the month of April came in, my cycle started back and I was bleeding normally, but it just didn't stop. It kept going for the whole month. Now, keep in mind, I don't suggest for anybody to bleed past 2 weeks, even a week. But if you're bleeding past that, you need to go see the doctor. In my case, I didn't. I work in the medical field, so sometimes we think that we know everything. Sometimes we think, and I don't think it's always we know everything. We just feel like we can figure it out, because we're not good as a patient, but we are good at taking care of people. So long story short, I bled the whole month of April. I bled the whole month of May and June. By the time July got here, my husband was like, look, you're bleeding too much. You really need to go see the doctor. So, and I'm never that stubborn about my health, but it's just amazing how your mindset changes as you get older and you just feel, like you just can handle it. So I got used to bleeding just like you get up in the morning, brush your teeth, take a bath. So ended up, once July got here, I saw my gynecologist maybe the last week in June. So around about July the 1st, I was getting off. I worked 3-day, 12-hour shifts in the hospital. And once I got home, my gynecologist secretary called me and said, hey, your doctor want you to see blood specialist today or tomorrow. So I was like, okay. I said, well, can we see the doctor tomorrow because I'm tired? And I really wasn't tired. I was more sleepy because I just worked a whole 12-hour shift. I work night shift, 7 p to 7 a. And I was like, well, can I make the appointment tomorrow? So she said, well, we'll call you back and let you know what we can do. So it wasn't a good 10 minutes. And the secretary called me back and she was like, she said, no, Dr. Beck, that's my doctor, the blood specialist needs to see you today. She said, your hemoglobin is at 5. And she said, are you feeling okay? She said, are you feeling shortness of breath? And I said, I do. So backing up a little bit, that was the only symptom I had. to let me know that something was wrong, but I didn't take it that seriously. I just thought that I had picked up weight in my midsection, and I just thought it was fat. And going prior before that, some months before these things all happened, my husband was telling me like, hey, your stomach feels hard. I'm just taking it as if, yeah, I'm working out. Your stomach's supposed to be hard as a rock, when you're working out, not knowing that was my uterus being pushed. It was pushed up in my stomach. And that's what the doctor had told me when my gynecologist, before I even got to the point of getting a blood specialist, she said, your uterus is pushed up in your stomach. She said, it's like I'm 2 months pregnant. And because the fibroids became very aggressive and they grew. I didn't know they had grown that large. I mean, I knew I would have shortness of breath, stuff like that, but I was bleeding out. I only had 5 pints of blood in my body when I went to the blood specialist. And he just kept staring at me and staring at my husband, looking at me saying, I can't believe you're sitting here talking to me. Like, you only have 5 pints of blood in your body. Your hemoglobin level is at a 5. That means you're dead. Thank God. I'm a firm believer in God's healing power and God protecting us when we're in our ignorance. My hematocrit was at a 16. Your minimum is supposed to be 40. So he was like, we need to get you a blood transfusion like as of today. And I don't know. I wasn't fearful. My husband was sitting there. He was joking like, hey, go ahead and let her have a hysterectomy, and just joking. And the doctor kept looking over at me like this and look over at my husband like this. I can't believe she's talking. He was just in awe that I was alert. I felt a little weak, but I thought it was just feeling tired because I had just did a 3-day, 12-hour shift. So moving forward a little faster, this was July the 1st. So I found myself back at the clinic, sitting around cancer patients getting a blood transfusion. They gave me 2 pints of blood transfusion. Two pints of blood. The only symptom I had before all this happened was just shortness of breath. I would walk, then have to stop a little bit and take deep breaths, walk again, stop, take deep breaths. And prior to my gynecologist appointment, I only had a symptom that had started recently before that happened, where I started feeling a swoosh sound in my ear. It sounded like a heartbeat. And I didn't realize I was slowly dying, because in order to have oxygen to your brain, you have to have enough blood in your body. And my body, the doctor told me my body, he said, you trained your body like an athlete to get used to it. So once my body kept saying, I can't replenish your blood fast enough, it's like my blood, I was losing the blood so much that my body couldn't replenish it as fast as it was exiting my body. So moving forward, the very next day on July the 2nd, I was getting my blood transfusion. So I had to call my job and tell them, hey, I can't come to work today. And so they had to take me off the schedule. So I rested the whole day after I had that blood transfusion. Then the next day I went back to work. Then the next day we end up going for the 4th of July. All this was happening back to back to back, because we had already had it planned to go out of town and to see my stepdaughter and her baby for the 4th. So I enjoyed myself, but I ended up getting sick that Saturday because I stayed out in the sun too long. And so being severely anemic is what I was diagnosed with. And I was craving ice. And when I really came to the realities of it, I think I was in denial. And a lot of times we as women, we're in denial to a lot of things that we see, because we are go-getters. Especially us that work really hard, and you feel like that you have the answer to everything as a woman, especially as a black woman. That's how I feel. And it's like, looking back at that, I'm like, I was actually craving ice for 2 years, not realizing it. And a lot of people think, oh, when you eat ice is what makes you anemic. No. What makes you anemic is the fact that because I was craving ice, I was low on iron. So that's what made me anemic. So the doctor immediately put me on this birth control called Taytula to stop my bleeding, because that's what made me anemic, because I was bleeding out for 3 months straight. And I don't advise anybody to do that. But thank God he graced me to be here, still be here. So when the doctor gave me the birth control, then she put me on these little red pills, iron pills, to bring my iron back up. So moving forward to this month and going back to last month, July, I ended up having a hysterectomy. because the doctor suggested it, because she felt like if I'm going to continue to have fibroids in my body that was going to grow, all it was going to do is keep pushing my uterus farther and farther. And I felt like if you keeping something in your body, it's going to affect other organs like your heart, kidneys, pancreas. And knowing that the uterus had already pushed up in my stomach, it could have pushed closer to my heart. So I am today 8 days post-surgery. Had my surgery this time last Monday, and today makes a week that I was discharged from last Wednesday from having surgery. My experience with the surgery, I was nervous going in. My blood pressure had went up because I felt like I was very nervous, and the closer it got, closer and closer to the surgery, I was nervous in the operating room. And one of the anesthesiologists, she was like, "Well, do you think that your pressure is up because you're nervous?" I said, "I know it is." So she just had me to relax and take deep breaths into the mask, and then I was knocked out. To me, it seems like it was like 5 minutes, and next thing I know, I woke up in my room. The blessed part about my whole process so far was that the surgery went well. I had a catheter in, and the next day they took the catheter out and they wanted me to get up to walk. So they showed me how to maneuver and how to squat to use the bathroom. And they were like, "You are not a patient." Like, because thank God, I mean, I was up walking the next day. I was still sore now. Don't get me wrong. I was sore. I felt a little funny, but I'm blessed 8 days in to have improved a lot. I mean, it's like I never missed a beat. I still have to know that I have to take my time to get around. I can't overdo anything. I just don't lift anything because they said don't lift anything past the size of a milk carton. So I just don't lift anything. I just kind of do little things that I can do. Because I'm a type person, I like my house cleaned a certain way. So I can't say I don't cook. I can't drive right now. I only got in my car one time because I'm closer to a shopping area, and it's a bank that I go to that I went to and came back home. So my husband kind of looked at me funny. But my whole point in my whole process, I'm a firm believer in prayer. And along with prayer, I really believe that's why I'm, doing, really well with my recovery process. So I just wanted to share that with you ladies. If you're, well, first of all, get checked out. I wouldn't advise anybody to bleed 3 months straight like I did. Everybody's experiences are different. I can't tell anybody not to have a hysterectomy. I tried to get a more non-invasive procedure done, but because of the size of my uterus, now check this out. Because of the size of my uterus, the doctor said, "Well, no, you're going to have the old bikini cut, hysterectomy." So I got my uterus removed and my fallopian tube, so it won't, so it can reduce the risk of cancer. So I still have both of my ovaries. So that's the only thing that I feel pain at, where the incision is. I haven't had any pain in that area. The only time I feel like maybe an irritation or a little pain is when I kind of move, getting out the bed and getting up, because I can't walk like you walk straight. I have to do everything from the side and maneuver. But it's like my uterus, when the doctor showed my husband, my uterus was past 6 inches. My uterus was a length of 12 inches. I didn't know someone's uterus can be that big. I think the average size is supposed to be 3 to 4 inches. I'm not sure. But the doctor showed my one part of my uterus that she said that picture didn't give it justice. She put the 6-inch ruler next to my uterus, and my uterus was longer. And that was just one picture. She had a second picture that she couldn't even put them together because it was 12 inches long. That was just crazy to me. So that is what was pushed up in my stomach, making me look like I was 2 months pregnant. And I'm basically a petite person, so I carry my weight very well. So to see that picture, I haven't got the copies of it yet, but I will do another video to kind of let you all see it once I get the photos. But I just wanted to just come and just give you my experience having a hysterectomy. I can't tell people not to do it. I've seen videos where people say don't get it done, but your situation is different. If I would have kept my uterus in, it would have still been where the fibroids would have been pushing the uterus farther and farther. I mean, because I could have almost died. I just feel like I'm a miracle walking. So that's it. I'm going to do a part 2 of more of my story. It's so much more to the story, but as I recover, I will let you guys know my journey. And right now, I feel great. I can move better. I mean, like I said, I was walking the very next day after my hysterectomy. And you want to move because you don't want to get stiff, and then you don't want to stay still too long because that can set up blood clots. So it's very important the day after your hysterectomy to get up. I was just blessed to be able to have people in my life that know the power of prayer, prayed along with me. Even when I was nervous, I still believed God was going to heal me, and He's constantly healing me. So I got like 4 more weeks out. This will be four or five. Yeah, I'll say 5 more weeks out from work. But I am healing well and recovering well, and that is my experience. There's some things I probably left out, but I will definitely do another video as time go on with my recovery process. But as of right now, I'm 8 days from recovering, and I feel fantabulous, so I just try to still get up and move my body, and then my body actually tells me when I've done too much. But anyway, that is it. Like and subscribe below if you like this video, and make comments. This is my story, so I just want to share it with you guys. Thank you. Have a great day.